Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and welcome to a video about patch 10.0.7, the return of Shards of Domination, or at least so people have been saying on Twitter and stuff in Wowhead comment replies. So, what is the post that has sparked this? Well, here's that post, which says Primordial Stone Gems are coming in patch 10.0.7, and they are gems with special effects that go into the Onyx Amulet, or Onyx Annulet, rather, which has 3 different sockets for primordial stones, into which presumably you can put some of these different stones in here. Here's some of the strings here that say they can only be put into primordial sockets, and that socket only takes primordial gems, and so that is... This article sparked a bunch of backlash that said, oh no, it's Shards 2.0, and I wanted to make this video to explain why people are saying that, and then whether or not I think that's right or wrong. So to start off, what were Shards of Domination? Well, they were these gems back in this beautiful patch, 10.9.1, that had these different effects that were socketed into Domination sockets in your gear. And you can see here they all had these sort of different effect things. You also got a set bonus if you slotted all 3 Unholy, Frost, or Blood Shards. You got a set bonus that was quite powerful. The shards were also upgradable and became more powerful as you upgraded them. They upgraded with currency that mostly dropped from the raid, although you could get a little bit from a weekly quest out in Korthia and from a world boss that was just outside of the raid. So, Shards of Domination were pretty universally hated. Almost everybody disliked that system, at least that I know, because the effects were not very interesting conceptually. Your leech is increased by 30. Healing and health is increased. Your damage is increased if you have more health than your target. Your damage is increased. This one was actually one of the more interesting ones to play around after attacking an enemy you've not yet damaged. Your critical hits cause their target to absorb the next... cause a nearby ally to absorb the next damage dealt to them. Gain absorb every 5 seconds up to a cap, right? Damaging a target increases your damage done to that target. Stacking. Your helpful spells and ability drain nearby enemies for a small amount of health, and your speed is increased by 30. So these effects were... almost none of them changed the way that you played, or were particularly interesting to have in your effect, in your character sheet, right? This was the only exception, was the one that made you potentially want to proc Shard of Core off of damaging an enemy you've not yet damaged, but even that was very rarely worth playing around. There were also the set bonuses as well, which were a link that you could establish to one target if you were playing Blood that would deal damage and heal you, or every time you crit, the winds for a winter accumulate some of that effect up to a cap, and then deal damage every 20 seconds and give you an absorb shield for that amount. Or Unholy was just a huge amount of primary stat, and then a damaging explosion and a bunch more of that primary stat whenever you got enough of those stacks. These were also pretty uninteresting to play around. Bloodlink was pretty much just, oh, this one's good single target, gives you a bunch of healing. Winds of Winter was kind of interesting because it scaled off of crit, so it potentially changed the value of stats for you, which was kind of cool. And then the Unholy one was just a boatload of primary stat. So uninteresting effects that didn't really change your playstyle. There was also a balancing problem. Unholy was way, way better than the other 2 set bonuses on PTR. It was way, way better for the first week or 2 of the patch. Then they announced huge buffs to Frost and Blood and nerfs to the Unholy set bonus after people had invested their upgrade currency into Unholy set shards, which was another horrific decision made in the saga of Shards of Domination, because the set bonuses and the effects of the gems scaled with the upgrade tokens that you put into them. So it was a pretty heavy investment to do it, but you could get these really high level value set bonuses that were 3 times as powerful as not having upgraded them. So when they then buffed the Bloodlink one, you know, if you had invested all of your currency into Unholy, that was really bad. In addition, the gems dropped at random from Sanctum raid bosses. You could also get one from the world boss, and eventually they made like Sylvanas guaranteed to drop one or something, but they dropped at random. Plus, they needed to go into Domination socketed pieces, which were also random drops and were only a few specific item slots as well. So that was there was this kind of double-wheeled RNG thing where it's like some people in your raid don't have a full set of Unholy Shards for the first couple of weeks because they're getting unlucky. And then, oh, actually, they were lucky because they didn't upgrade Unholy set bonus, and now they're upgrading Blood set bonus, and haha, you look stupid. And then some people in your raid had the shards, but just they're a mail wearer, and it just happened to be that there wasn't enough mail domination socketed pieces dropping from the raid, and the ones that did dropped on people that couldn't trade it back then. And so that was a huge problem as well with it. And yeah, basically almost universally disliked. One final little nail in the coffin for it was that you could accidentally overwrite your shards by socketing them in over an old one. You had to purchase a Soulfire Chisel from the Bonesmith, Hiremir, and Korthia, and then use that to safely remove your shard. But if you accidentally just socket it like you socket a regular gem, you would destroy your old shard, which could be an upgraded shard, that then you would lose all of the upgrade into, and you'd have to wait for it to drop again from the raid and start upgrading it again. So all in all, a lot of horrible stuff there. Now, why are people comparing Primordial Stones to the Shards Domination? Well, because they are also gems, and they also go in sockets, and they also have effects that read somewhat similarly. That is a pretty small overlap in terms of the things we know about Shards of Domination and the things we know about Primordial Stones. In fact, we know that they seem to only go into this Onyx Amulet. The item levels on these things as well, 405 and 411, seem to suggest that this might not be a next, like a 10.1 relevant system, and this might just be something that is relevant during 10.0.7 rather than a raid tier level system, which makes a lot of those acquisition problems matter a whole lot less as well, even if they exist, which we don't know that they exist yet, right? We have no idea how these things drop. The fact that it seems like they probably socket into this one item that has 3 slots on the whole of it makes it seem a whole lot safer. This is a ring as well, so it's not like a necklace that's gonna. Sorry, it's not an amulet. It's not a necklace or anything like that. It is a ring, which means it's not going to screw over anybody that like crafted Lariat and is now going to feel left out, right? I guess if you crafted 2 rings, you're going to maybe lose 1 spark, but whatever, not a big deal. And then are the effects going to be interesting conceptually, or are they going to be interesting to play with? Because I think Shards failed both in the interesting to think about and interesting to play with front. It was like pretty clearly correct which shards to use in most cases, and then you were just sometimes gated by which ones you actually upgraded and which ones you didn't. But once you had all of them upgraded, you know, it's pretty clear, like, okay, this spec uses this one in this spot, and that was pretty straightforward. But also it was, like, that's often going to be true, right? There's going to be a lot of systems they make where, you know, the guide is going to pretty correctly identify what's going on, and yeah, it's pretty hard to design a system where that's not true, but at least there are a lot of systems they make where there are interesting gameplay effects, and Shards, I think, failed pretty heavily at, like, being interesting to play with. Primordial Stone Gems, there's a lot of different stuff going on here, right? Gain armor every 20 seconds, absorbing damage and slowing melee attackers. Abilities can drench nearby ally in restorative waters, healing over time. A lot of these read like, okay, some of these are going to be kind of weak healer ones, a couple of these are going to be throughput ones, but like, okay, fire damage from your stones is increased by 60% and is now considered chaos, right? And what if we look at chaos? I guess there's no other chaos stuff here, but this is relevant, I guess, if you're a demon hunter, right? And you're not taking by any means necessary. And then there's some really cool effects here, like damaging effects from your primordial stones trigger your healing effects, and vice versa, right? Being near 3 enemies stirs up a sandstorm, dealing nature damage. Spells and abilities can cast a random primordial stone effect. Taking damage shields yourself and absorbs damage. Being near a corpse grants the effects of Blood, Frost, and Plague primordial stones. So at the very least, you know, successful interrupts deal fire damage to enemies in front of you. At the very least, you can see that they've created these stones that seem to be built for different situations, and unless they punt the balance really badly, it should be true that you'd want to use different ones of these in different situations, or at least you could try that out if you're interested. And then there's also some ones that seem kind of generically good if you're not interested in swapping around your build, and if you just want to slot some generally good stones. But I am cautiously optimistic that there will be places where good players will be able to slot in a cool stone for something that, you know, is not used for very much, even though there's a lot of these, you know, obviously there's probably going to be some generally good ones, but I think there's a lot of like, these effects are interesting to read through at the start. Whether they'll be interesting to play with, whether there will be ones that you swap in different situations, obviously we can't tell that yet, but they are at least interesting to read through, which your leech is increased by 30, your speed is increased by 30, did not pass that test. So is the system Shards 2.0? I don't think it's likely that it will be anywhere close to as bad as that system was. That being said, Blizzard does kind of deserve people seeing Shards of Domination in every gem-related system they design until they prove that they're not going to do Shards of Domination again. Shards of Domination was a horrific blunder that, you know, I am not surprised that people see Shards in this, but I don't think it's super likely that we're going to see that again happening with these. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.